the issues affecting Asia's animals, and the stories of the people working on their behalf. We'll be taking you on a tour of what's been happening lately in the animal protection space around Asia and also bringing you updates from our huge network of animal protection organizations and our many working groups. Welcome to the Asia for Animals podcast.
My name is Long, and I'm a coordinator for the Asia for Animals Sanctuaries and Rescue Center Coalition. In this podcast, we are joined by Billy Gustafianto from Tasikoki Wildlife Rescue Center on the island of Sulawesi, Indonesia, and Angela D'Alessio from World Parrot Trust. We'll explore the challenging process of translocating parrots back to their natural habitat after being rescued and rehabilitated. And maybe more importantly, we'll discuss how successful collaborations are nourished between organizations and partners to ensure the parrots and other animals have a chance to be back in the wild. Angela, do you want to start to talk about what you do?
I am the World Parrot Trust coordinator for the Indonesian project on parrot conservation. Or we could say I'm with the World Parrot Trust coordinating the conservation efforts for Indonesian parrots.
Okay. Billy, what about you?
All right. Hi. Basically, I'm the manager of the Tasikoki Wildlife Rescue Center. We basically work on rescued animals, either it's from illegal wildlife trades or illegal pet. And we receive the animals, taking care of them until they healthy, bring the wild behavior back, and then once they're ready to be released back to the wild, then we bring them back to their habitat.
Okay. Maybe, Angela, you can talk about World Parrot Trust in general, and then what you do with World Parrot Trust in Indonesia.
The World Parrot Trust is an international organization, and they've been at the forefront of parrot conservation for over 35 years now. And they've got programs all over the world, and they focus on many different parrot species, if not all of them. Specifically in Indonesia, we are focusing on the Wallacea side of the country, as that is actually the cradle, let's say, of the parrots. Many parrots are from that side of Indonesia. So, well, in general, we are supporting all kinds of parrot conservation efforts in situ as well as ex situ. So we do help rescue centers with their operations on rescue rehabilitations and releases. And then we also implement longer-term conservation projects. This is also in collaboration with rescue centers and other partners. And those efforts are more focused on studying the bioecology of the species, parrot species, as we have giant research gaps on the ecology of many parrots, many Indonesian parrots that remain understudied. And not having that data makes it quite difficult for taking care of and rehabilitating these confiscated species back. So that's a little bit what we're doing in general. So it spans from rescue rehabilitation, release, to studying the species in the wild, to at the end make sure that they can get back to where they belong.
Other than parrots, what other animals do you keep in the Tasikoki Wildlife Rescue Center?
I mean, as a rescue center, you cannot choose what you or expect what is you're gonna receive. For example, mainly what we have now is parrots. Mostly is the parrots from Molucca and Papua area. But there's also some native from Sulawesi birds, like the what's it called, ornate lorikeet, But yeah, mostly the local species we had already released. We got also an endemics to an island in North Sulawesi called Talaut Island. It's a red and blue lorry. We still have quite a lot of them also under rehabilitated, and we prepared them to be released soon also, and where we collaborate also with WPT for the program. Put aside from the birds, we got also macaques, native macaques from Sulawesi, like the black-breasted macaque, Macaca nigra, that also still often illegally kept as a pet. They are protected species, and mostly the story is like they got the babies when the parents got killed for their meat, probably, and they got the baby or they sold the baby to be kept as a pet. And yeah, we got informed that there's a family or there's a house keep these macaques as a pet, and we goes to with the government authorities to goes there and rescue the animals. And then we got also a species that not native from Sulawesi, like from Sumatra, Java, and Borneo. They are trafficked through North Sulawesi, like siamangs, gibbons, sun bears. In the past, we have also orangutans, but we already translocated the orangutans back to Borneo. So, yeah, it's quite variety, a lot of animals, but always the largest numbers, because we quite close to Moluccan and Papua, is always the parrots.
Okay. So I understand the animals at the Tasikoki Rescue Center, the purpose is to release them back to the wild. And are there many of them that are not able to be released?
Yes, we still have some animals that are unable to be released. Either they're too old or they're to depend on humans. Yeah, for example, for food and other things. So it's to make them a how you say, Angela, a self-sustain. To be able to survive in the wild is difficult. So that's like what we still not being able to be released back to the wild.
Yeah, that's unfortunately is what happens a lot with wildlife that gets used as pets. They get so dependent from the care of human beings that they have lost complete independence, and then they don't know where. If you would release them like that back into the wild, they wouldn't even recognize sources of food. They wouldn't be able to recognize their territory or even enemies or predators. Or so that's unfortunately the sad side of getting animals that are rescued, and that they were pets. That's quite sad.
Yeah. For example, we have one bird. It's a Kakatua galerita, sulfur crested cockatoo. Historically, he's been kept as a pet for quite a long time, chained up to a perch. Every time he tried to fly when he's being kept as a pet, like it's always there's a chain that hold him. So it's always painful for him to try to fly because it's always hang up by the chain. His feather is really good, actually. Like it's all complete, but he just doesn't want to fly because he still have the trauma from previous experience that when he's being kept as a pet on a chain. So yeah, that kind of bird that like we cannot release back to the wild because they cannot fly or give up to fly.
The issue is often as well that we are facing situations where the infrastructure and the capacity that we have are insufficient for a specific rehabilitation. Let's take for example this bird. He's got a trauma and he's unable to fly because he associates flying with pain. You would need like one person full time constantly trying to retrain this bird back to its original state. And that's not really feasible in a situation where you already have an overflow of animals, you already are understaffed, or even the expertise is simply not there to be able to take care of these things.
Yeah. And that's why one of the very important work that you do is to rehabilitate them. Even they cannot be released, they can still have a better life in your rescue center. And recently, in June 2024, World Parrot Trust and Tasikoki Rescue Center, you work with the government agencies and a few other to relocate. So this is there's a distinction between relocation and repatriation. You have relocated 68 animals, and 63 of them are parrots. Is that right?
We had a total of 68 animals, of which 64 parrots and 4 reptiles. That in an epic collaboration between Tasikoki, WCS, and the World Parrot Trust, we managed to do this relocation, as there were a lot of birds, and the locations where we had to move the birds to were 2 locations. So we were traveling by boat to 2 different locations, not just one.
Can you talk about how they end up in the Tasikoki Rescue Center?
They came from a different cases, but mostly they are there is from the operation of the Natural Resources and Conservation Agency together with the law enforcement officer in Manado. So they're doing operations to look up for the illegal pet. We got also the birds that came from like a smuggle attempt in the harbor, and then it's got confiscated by the animal quarantines officers. And we got also for example, the Moluccan cockatoo. Most of them are repatriated from Philippines.
And in 2020, you have some animals repatriated from the Philippines. And then in 2023, you have another repatriation event from the Philippines as well. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. There's 2 times, one in 2020 and then another repatriations last year.
So I imagine the confiscation happened in the Philippines, and then the government agencies between the 2 countries will contact one another to arrange for the repatriation. But do you know how do they decide which animals and what species that the Philippines will have to send back to the Indonesia, and based on what criteria they select the species and the animals that are fit for repatriation?
So I'll try to answer what I know so far. So the cases of the repatriation in 2020 is actually the animals are confiscated a couple years before, and then they just managed to send back the animals in 2020. Same also with the one that repatriated in 2023 last year, was also confiscated a few years before. So it took a while actually for the repatriations before it happened from the time when they are confiscated in Philippines. It's because first they waited also the cases finished on the court in Philippines, and then secondly the diplomations between both countries as well. So it's in Indonesia, it's under the Ministry of Forestry and Environment, where they work with the Philippines authorities also there, with taking care of the wildlife there. I forget the name, DENR, if I'm not wrong. So yeah, they both working, and then it's involved also the Embassy of Indonesia and Philippines in 2020. So it's involved the embassy there to coordinate between the 2 institutions, ministry institution between the both. And yeah, a lot of things actually are the paperwork need to be done from the both countries before these animals be able to be back to Indonesia.
So World Parrot Trust and Tasikoki are not directly involved in the repatriation process, right?
No, we're not. So we
Definitely not. We are just on the receiving end of the whole story because, all the bureaucracy between two countries. If you heard also the situation as well, and what you have and what slows down the whole process is the judiciary system as well, which is it's separated from the whole confiscation thing. So the animals are confiscated, but then because it's a crime, what happened? It enters the judiciary system, and then how long does that take to be solved first before the animals are being released? Because that's, how do you call it, Bill? They're proof, right? They're kind of like barang bukti. It's evidence. So that needs to be released before we can start working with them, with the animals, or receive them.
Yeah, I can see how many years it's taken from confiscation a few years before 2020 until the relocation from Sulawesi to Maluku. It's more than 6 years, I believe, for some of the animals repatriated from the Philippines. Angela, can you talk about the why is it important for the parrots from the Philippines to get sent back to Sulawesi and then back to place of their origin?
Well, the reason is the same for which we move all the animals back to their home range, and that also includes parrots. Now, if you remember what I said in the beginning, many Indonesian parrots are endemic, so they're very special and rare as well. And it's important to be able to work, rehabilitate, and release as many as we can to boost the wild population. Just to give you a small example, one of the species we're focusing on this year is the Mitchell's lorikeet, the one that specifically is endemic to Bali, to which in the wild there are only 5 left. Or we actually, that was actually the last census that has been done, and that was a census done a few years ago. So we don't know how many are left now today in the wild. It's all connected, So if we manage to boost the wild population manages to save and protect our forest, to which then we get clean water, food, and shelter. So at the end, we're also doing it for ourselves, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The importance of rescuing, rehabilitating, and releasing animals back into the wild is mainly for the conservation purposes of the species, but that also helps us as a human species, right?
Yeah.
Because the trees give us oxygen, and so we have this symbiotic relationship with nature.
Yeah. To how do you select the species and the costs and benefits? You want to spend money on the rarer parrots to repatriate, and for the ones that are more common, you don't. Countries normally don't spend money on those.
I mean, if you're asking me, like, I still want to see them in their habitat in the wild, like apart from like what Angel already explained, like how they're functionally important for the ecosystems in their habitats as well, especially for parrot species in Molucca and Papua, where there is not many primates species there, which like in Java, Borneo, Sumatra, or mostly in Asia, like we have primates that help on the seed dispersal in the forest. But birds in Molucca and Papua, they play that important roles in the forest to help in the seed dispersal in the forest.
Yeah, and for the ones that are more common, maybe it's better to spend the resources, the money on protecting their habitats, so that they can, because there are enough numbers in their population to continue to procreate. For the ones like Angela mentioned about the parrot species in Bali, that's only a few individuals in the wild. Then we want to as focus the resources on repatriation, sending the ones that are not outside of their native range back to their origin.
Yes, ideally, like more important to keep them like to protect their habitats where they still in there, and also the population still native in their habitats. But to be honest, like it's not an easy things. There's a couple of reasons, like the locals people still not seeing how important the birds for their area, or they not get any benefit from the birds. Some area like they develop the bird tourism, bird ecotourism. So like some people's tourists come to do the bird watching, seeing the birds there, which is they see the benefit, but there's not many villages like that. And then some people that seeing the birds as a valuable to be hunted and then sold as a pet, that's what they do to get money. And also like Indonesia is quite a big country, many archipelago, and then with a small boat it's really hard to detect by the law enforcement and authorities. They can pass across from another island to another island. And for examples, like a couple months ago I just read a news that birds already smuggled to Philippines and being exchanged with guns and weapons in North Molucca. So it's from North Molucca to Philippines using a small boat. It's really hard to detect by the law enforcement as well. So talking about that, it's like a need a collaboration within a lot of peoples to working also on the habitats. As a rescue center, like we only how you say it, like we mainly not working on the resource, because the resource is of the where we need to stop is in the hunting activities on their habitat, and then we need more people's working there. But we need a lot of collaborations for that.
Angela, can you explain the parrot relocation process? Like, I know it's not just about jumping on a boat with the birds, right?
Oh, the relocation started, the process started way before the boat. The boat was actually one of the moments when we were on the boat. I remember looking at my colleague Fahmi, who is part of my team, and we were like, this is really happening, because so many things can go wrong before we really have these birds on the boat, right? Billy, you remember? You know, we have been working together for a long time with Tasikoki, and we have known about many parrots there and many opportunities for sending them home. And when the stars aligned, that means Tasikoki has the resource, the forestry department agrees, and they contacted us, and we were also ready at that time. That's when all the stars aligned. And then we had a bigger star as well, which was WCS, that joined this effort and supported us all the way as well. That's when things started to move, because don't forget that all these birds needed health checks, laboratory screening, transportation cages made. We needed to have the team ready at the rescue centers to move the birds from their cages into the transportation boxes. We needed people to help move the transportation boxes to the harbor. We needed to mobilize enough porters at the harbor to load the birds up. We needed actually, what was it? There was also a whole group of people that actually checked out the boat first to find the suitable location to put the birds, because the travel was how long, Bill? The travel to North Maluku was 1 day, but the guys that went to Ambon,
it's one night, and then another day and night to go to Maluku from Maluku Utara. So if I will say how it started, it's actually we already planned it since last year. Yeah. Last year we planning the relocations to Molucca. It's to relieve and create some space in Tasikoki for the animals are repatriated from Philippines actually. So because if there's animals goes out, it's gonna be over capacity for all the cages. So we already planning this last year, but when we do the health screening for, especially for the psittacis feather and big diseases, which is a virus that specifically infected parrot species, we got some individuals suspected with this virus. So then we need to do this screening for the whole individuals in Tasikoki, and then that takes a while to to do. So then long story short, we just managed to continue the plan on the end of May 2000 this year, before we able to send them back in June. But before that, also like a lot of um, coordinations between the government here in North Sulawesi with the government in North Molucca and Molucca, because there's two provinces, but these two provinces is under the same conservation agency. It's in Molucca. So we need to collaborate and coordinate with them about some paperwork. We're asking the authorities, the veterinary authority in North Molucca province and also Molucca province about the health requirement for the animals to get into the area. They sending the letter back, and then based on that letter, we need to check on do the health screenings. So it's involving a lot of institutions, government institutions, and authorities. And then there's quite how you say a tense story also about just a day before we schedule to depart with the boat. Like we still doesn't get any green light from the boat itself. So we're not sure if these birds can go on the boat or not. Like because the it goes with the a public boat, under a company called PT Pelni. Yeah, they have a policy like they cannot transport live animals. A week before, we already met the captain. Actually, a week before the schedules, we already met the captain of the boat and then discuss with the captain but the location where we can put the animals. And then that's what Angela said, like a small group people we goes and check where to put the birds, and we already find it's in the back of the boat where there's no a lot of people pass across. And we already agree with the captain, but just a day before the date we're gonna board the boat, we got news that the captain we met a week before is on annual leaves. We met with the new captains, asking his approval again, and then met with also with the management of the company to asking also their permissions, where they need also the green light from the main office in Jakarta. So it's quite a lot of things that unexpected happen just the day before we board the ship.
It's a highly bureaucratic process, and it involves a lot of checks and double checks and triple checks between different institutions. So you have the veterinary institution, you've got the quarantine, you've got the forestry department, then you've got the captain of the boat who is transporting the birds, and etc., etc. And let's not forget again that there was also this issue of, not really an issue, but the lab testing for avian influenza is required by law to be done for every bird. And those tests are extremely expensive. I say extremely because, it is quite expensive to test 64 birds one by one.
We need to do the PCR. Like it's the most expensive test for the each individuals that we're going to send.
And this is required by law that you have to use PCR.
It's the health requirement asking by the locals veterinary authority there.
And with this bureaucracy, like there's nothing you can do, right? Or is there a shortcut? Yeah, you just have to follow everything they tell you to do.
The only thing that we can do is just be prepared, calculate enough slack time, don't plan too much ahead, and just be ready to go and be ready with your funds, with the animals, with the people. So kind of like everybody, I don't know for how many weeks, Bill, we've been ready to go for every day for those 2 weeks. We with Fahmi, we flied into Tasikoki a couple of days before the estimated departure date, and we're just ready to go. Ready. Kind of like it was really stressful. And then the moment that we were on the boat, we could kind of like breathe because there is no one that can stop us now. We are there. We are going now.
I think I remember like you came like a week. No. A couple of days, before we departure. But you still also waited the confirmation from our side, from Tasikoki and then the local the authorities, North Sulawesi, if we already have the fixed date to go or not. So once we got the fixed date, Angela and also Fahmi from WPT coming to help also us on the relocation of the animals to Molucca.
You were also on the boat, Billy?
Yes.
Yes. We both on the boat.
All of us. Everybody. It was important because you're talking about 2 days of boat travel. It goes really slow as well. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of noise and confusion. So you need people to take guard them, feed them, clean them, and one by one, it's a lot of work. So it was very much needed.
What is it like on a boat traveling with the birds? Like, what do you need to do to care for these individuals?
All right. You want to answer this, Angela, or?
The World Parrot Trust team, Fahmi and myself, have got like a super combined, mighty combination of veterinary knowledge, and we have been working together on many different species of animals, and we do also work on parrots, in which we are specializing right now. So Tasikoki had their vet, their senior vet, their keeper. Then there was Fahmi and myself. Then there was one officer of the forestry department that was really nice guy, and he really wanted to help as well. So we put him to work as well. And basically, what you do is kind of like continue husbandry like usual, but you just have to make sure to design the boxes in such a way that you're not annoying the birds too much in their own space. So you need to be able to clean them and make sure that they can drink and eat safely. So we managed to train all the birds to drink from those hamster water bottles so that we could keep drinks clean as possible. We created a very innovative way of putting out the food for them so that they would be minimizing dropping the food on the bottom of the cage. What else? We try to they got enrichments. They got the normal husbandry that I always would have.
We still gave them enrichments also.
Yes, definitely the type of food that they got was more power food than they would usually get in a normal situation. Because at the end, if they arrive when they're tired and stressed out, their chances for survival in a new environment are lower. So we needed to keep them nice and happy and well fed so that I could, overcome the stress of the travel. It was also really hot, but on the boat was really nice because it was ventilated. But you arrive in Maluku and the weather is a little bit different than what you have in North Sulawesi at that time. So there is a lot of changes for these birds as well. Change of weather, change of food, change of air, change of temperature, and stuff like that. So yeah.
The boat travel from North Sulawesi, from the Bitung Harbor to North Molucca, Ternate, is not too rough actually. But like a night after we depart from Ternate to goes to Ambon, Maluku, like it's quite rough because we're quite wavy actually. So we kind of worry like it might affect the birds, but it's fine. All the birds looks good when they arrive.
When you arrive in Maluku, you don't just release the birds, right? You have to let them settle and do another round of checkup before release, correct?
Yes, it's to stabilize the birds' conditions from the travel. Yeah, like in North Molucca, it's released like a week after, right, Angela?
So the birds were allocated from the Tasikoki Rescue Center to the offices of the Forestry Department in North Maluku, and Afifa, the senior vet of Tasikoki, and myself, we got off there with 44 birds, if I'm not mistaken. And we moved the birds in their facilities for stabilization, change of food, obviously, because the husbandry at the rescue center is different than what you get at the forestry department. And we were asked to help with releasing most of those birds in 2 or 3 weeks after they arrived. And the main reason was the lack of location of place available there. So they needed to move the birds out. The birds that arrived from Tasikoki were very strong, very healthy, and lively. And that was for the officer and the head there sufficient to decide to move the birds to Sidamoli, which is somewhere in North Maluku.
It's another separated island, yeah. So
so again, another island far away from people to release most of the birds that has been moved. We were asked as the World Parrot Trust joined that effort mainly to mitigate the situation, meaning making sure that the right birds with the right health requirements would be released, and not all of them just because it was necessary to create more space at the offices. So that was really successful. I think Fahmi did a great job. Fahmi went there. He's an Indonesian vet, and he managed to collaborate with the vet at the forestry department offices there to kind of like discuss which one would be fit for release and which one wouldn't. And again, the power of collaboration and the power of being open and honest and friendly with each other really helped a lot to to get us and heard by the forestry department. And actually we've been asked to go back again in case they wanted to release more. So that's kind of like a good sign.
Are there initiatives to try to stop the trade of parrots and other animals between the islands in this area of Indonesia?
Traffic is quite a lot and high there in Molucca, so they try to stop also the animals before it's reaching out the other island. So while for example, it's a Molucca species, they try to stop it, get out of Molucca, so it's not goes to Sulawesi and takes more effort to bring them back to Molucca. Actually happened for example, in West Papua, they have the officer in the harbor and working also with the authorities in the harbor to check on the boats or the passengers that are going into the boat if they bring any birds or any other animals that are going to be smuggled. Same also in Molucca. Apart from that, also there's a couple of NGOs also helping them in providing informations of the smuggling animals or the illegal trade activities. So that's like the effort to prevent the animals being smuggled.
It seems collaboration across organizations and government has been really important to make this relocation a success. How did the collaboration between Tasikoki and World Parrot Trust start, and how has this pushed forward the efforts to help parrots that are still being traded in Indonesia?
If I'm not wrong, I think it started in 2013. It was started in 2013 when Tasikoki received about 111 red and blue lorry ALC's Rio confiscated in Talaut Island, North Sulawesi. And then I remember on that time it's the previous manager before me, Simon Purser, that contact World Parrot Trust. The Indonesian coordinator on that time is Matt, and then World Parrot Trust happy to help on giving the support for Tasikoki to taking care these birds, because like a big number of birds coming into Tasikoki, and then like suddenly you have to increase the capacity, making space for them, like fixing some cages, and also providing nutritions and food they needed to keep them healthy. And then a year later, in 2014, we managed to send this confiscated bird, also supported by WPT, to release back in Talaut Island in 2014. So that's, I think, how our collaborated from Tasikoki started with WPT.
Yes. So the World Parrot has been supporting Tasikoki for many years. The first biggest support that was received was in the ALC Israel back then. And then Tasikoki received many different smaller supports for the ad hoc interventions from the World Parrot. So it mainly started with helping out with building new enclosures, or helping out with the husbandry, or giving support for buying food and stuff like that. And then our collaboration started then, I think a couple of years ago, when we started to become a team that was more hands-on and more interactive in the intervention. So we wanted to be able to support not only financially, but also hands-on, as we know that there is a lot of understaffing going on at the rescue centers, and with our knowledge, our veterinary knowledge, it's good to be able to also lend a helping hand at once on the ground.
What tips or suggestions do you have for other NGOs to maintain successful collaborations, or like what you have between Tasikoki and World Parrot Trust?
So I think the key how to keep maintain the collaborations is the trust. How can we provide them with like being honest about the conditions what we have, and then over them an opportunity of what you can help, like, oh, I only can help with the advice or a networking, I can connect you with this, or oh yeah, okay, I have funds to help you, and then they help with the funds. So yeah, I think yeah, that's how we still able to keep the collaboration until now.
Thank you. Angela, do you want to add what do people need to understand about collaboration and how to maintain it long term?
I agree with what Billy said, definitely, and that's probably the reason why we are working so well together, and we will continue working on the parrots with the Tasikoki. And it's indeed being open and being vulnerable in the sense of being honest by sharing what you don't know and sharing where you need your help, and sharing the conditions of the animals. And I think as well, what I find very important is being open to new approaches and being open to different approaches, because I guess it's not just because we all have the same goal in mind that that then automatically becomes a good collaboration. But it's how you get there. And the thing is that we need to remember that we want to do this together, and situations can be approached in different ways. And even if that way is different than what you are always used to, you can still learn from just sitting back and trusting the process. I have to say that that's something that I learned from the last collaboration as well. When we were laughing, we're saying that it was really stressful, but it was really stressful also in trusting the process. Can you imagine you've been working towards this whole relocation, and one day before the estimated date of departure, they're saying, if you're going to leave, yes or no. It's kind of like if you at that moment think that only you are right, you're gonna start the fight. Because how is this possible? And what did you do? And why didn't you do this? And did you ask this? And did you double check that? No, but instead you just sit back and trust the process, because your partner that has their connections and has their way to do things knows what they're doing. And that's, I think, it's really important in a collaboration. And what I also completely agree with what Billy said is that collaborations are not simply because of you have the money and I have the resources and let's work together. It's deeper than that. Obviously, you have a lot of collaborations that work like that, but those are superficial ones. I think that the collaborations that we managed to build, that are based on trust and are based on vulnerability and reaching the same goals and listening to each other and trusting and looking at the process together, are the ones that at the end are more cost effective. Even if in the beginning, my hair went gray, but even if in the beginning it's a bit of a struggle, it's worth the struggle, because at the end you're coming out so much more stronger and more secure and more ready for the next adventure. And that at the end your stuff will happen faster, because you already kind of like you've got this synergy and you already know how we work together. So you're not more walking, how do you say, you're walking on eggshells, hoping to not offend anyone, or you just know how you can do your thing, and everybody knows what their expertise is. And we've got a new adventure coming up soon, so we will be able to talk about that at a later stage. But good collaborations just bring bigger and better fruits and more opportunities for the future.
Billy, you mentioned what people can offer each other. How do you navigate the relationship with the government agencies? Like, what do they want from you, and what you can offer them from as a rescue center, wildlife rescue center?
Tasikoki is like the only rescue center in North Sulawesi, and then like from the government itself, like they need a Tasikoki to help on taking care of the animals, like being confiscated or rescued. So that's like what we have to offer to the government part. But on the other side, also, for examples like when we're going to send the animals or a lot of things that needs a paperwork and coordinates, like it needs to be done by the government authorities, and then they do that part and help that. So yeah, it's those kind of relationships that we maintain. And also that could happen also because of the trust. Like they know how we work with the animals, and then we also trust them that they doing their best, also their job, even like they have too much on their tables, to be honest. But yeah, um, yeah, we collaborate together and then try to solve the problem we're facing together about the wildlife in North Sulawesi together.
Really, what do you hope to see in the future for collaborations between people to help animals?
Apart from the collaborating, if you're asking what I want to see in the future, I want to see all the cages empty, actually. I want to see all the cages empty. Like we able to release the animals back to the wild, and then like there is no animals are hunted or illegally trade or illegally kept as a pet. So that's what I want to see in the futures. But for the collaborations, I mean, there's still a couple of things that we still lack. Each institutions, each organizations, there's still a gap like need to fill, and then that's probably like we need the collaboration to be able to fill the gap in each institutions or organizations gap. So for examples, we gap in fundings, for examples, and then there's other organizations that fill this gap. So we able to continue the program, taking care of the animals and other things. Other people's are gap in knowledge or technicals things, and then that's where we goes and then help them on that part. So it's that's I think that's how the collaborations works.
So I have the feeling that it all boils down to trust. I trust that you know, and you trust that I know, and that's, I think, the biggest lack that I can think of. It's something that we have to work on it ourselves. It's not that we are the all trusty people. We also lack trust in situations where it's difficult to estimate or to control whatever the result is. So it's trust.
How can people build that trust?
You just do it. Trust is something that you do. Just it's not something you can think, prepare, or it's decide or not. You just do it. If you're scared, just be scared and do it anyway. But the thing is that you have to mitigate. You have to know enough so that you can mitigate whatever negative impact could come your way. So you need to do your risk assessment, obviously. But you just have to do it.
With the WPT and Angela, actually, like just being honest with them, like about the conditionals, bad or good, I will tell them. So like we're facing the problem together, and then if we can sharing idea or minds to solve the problem together, then we try to solve it. If it's feasible, possible to continue the program to do this or help this or not. So yeah, just
Lots of people across Asia and even some of our listeners today may have birds and parrots as pets. How do most parrots enter the trade, and what should people be aware about this trade?
it's probably came illegally from the wild. They catch it from the wild using a mist net or using a glue. What kind of glue is it? I forget. Glue sap. Where they trap the animals, and then the animals have a lot of suffering before it's end up to be kept as a pet by these peoples. So think and consider about that first before you want to buy the birds, or you want to you already kept the birds. You might wondering where's the originals they came from. And then if you already had parrots as a pet, maybe what you need to consider also to help the birds that remain in the wild. By supporting like organizations like WPT or that help also organization like Tasikoki to taking care of the birds, or also doing the in situ program on the habitat of these birds. Because to be honest, there's a couples of like places also like already legal breeding the birds to be sold as a pet, but they're also facing the same issues with the illegal birds are still traded illegally. So consider where your birds came from.
Yeah, definitely.
Angela, maybe.
Yeah, definitely consider where they came from. If they are legally bred, then you need to look at, do you know that cockatoos live for over 60 years in captivity, and how old are you? And what is going to happen to the bird when you're 95 and you cannot take care of the bird anymore? So the one thing is the species-specific husbandry that these birds need in captivity. So as a pet, they need a lot of attention, a lot of care. They're not just funny dancing birds that can mimic your dog or your neighbor, but they're super intelligent, so they need a lot of stimulation. And if they don't, they start self-harming them. So that's really important to understand them in behaviorally, but also in their need to satisfy their entire behavioral repertoire. If they are unable to do so, they won't do well. They won't thrive as a pet. They will just survive. So they will just live. So that's really, really important if you want to keep them as a pet. Is the husbandry and understanding how they actually live in the wild and try to mimic this for them in captivity. And then the other side is obviously the sourcing of the bird. So the cheaper it is, the more you have to question, where does it come from?
The ones that come from the breeding facilities are usually much more expensive, correct?
Yes, they went through the whole process, and their captivity and incubation and hand raising and all these things that are way more expensive than snatching them from the forest. There is another thing also to take into consideration, that there are different species that you simply cannot breed in captivity. So when you're looking at those species and you see that you can buy them from a so-called legal breeder, you have to question that too. Is it really true? Did he really breed them, or did they just go into the forest and steal the eggs from the nests and just incubate?
Yes. Or also we have some breeding facilities that are still get the birds illegally from the wild, and then they claim it is raised from the breeding captive breeding program, and then sell it and then market as a captive breed birds. So you just need to recheck again the breeding facilities. Are they doing really a good breeding things, or they laundering?
Yeah, exactly. Did you know that the parrots, from the total of wildlife trafficking that is happening, parrots occupy 4%, and that's quite high for just one species.
Yeah, I have one last question. Billy, you said what you wish to see is for all the cages to be empty. And Angela, you have told me that before also. The only good enclosure is the empty enclosure. And so when all the animals are released, all the animals are safe, and you are going to be out of job, what are you going to do?
That's the point. That's the main thing. That's the ultimate goal, to be out of a job, isn't it? Or out of this job. What can we do? I think taking care of a habitat and taking care of the animals in their own habitat, wild and free, and make sure that
Yeah.
they're thriving in their environment is a nicer job than what we are dealing with right now. I think the tourism industry has got such a big opportunity to work in conservation efforts and try and create a situation where a sustainable income happens for local communities to bring tourists and see the birds and protect the forests, rather than us having to deal with the aftermath of all the ugly stuff of the poaching and the confiscations, and then trying to save what is savable. So yeah, I would love to be out of this job and then go into the forest and work there, study them, right? Understand how they function in the forest and how they function in their ecosystem and how they contribute to our existence as well.
You'll be a nature guide or a researcher.
Yeah, I agree with Angela. I probably will teaching in university and then doing more on research on the habitats, or traveling probably to promote ecotourism. So yeah, a lot of other things actually to do. Even the rescue center is already not operating anymore.
Thank you, Angela and Billy.
You're welcome, Cole.
You are very welcome. I really enjoyed this actually. So after we come back from Papua, let's do another one.
Yeah, we have a plan actually to relocate also birds to Papua, and it's help from WPT also.
How can people support your work?
Angela, you want to start?
No, Bill, it's all for you. Just do it, man. Just tell everyone. We're just helping you.
Oh, God. I mean, any help will be any kind of help, will be appreciated and will be meaningful for us in taking care of the birds. You can check and then help to in taking care of the animals. When we going to release them also, you can still help also. So just keep check our social media, and then you will find what you can help. Through from Tasikoki to Papua, there's still a lot of Papua species also in Tasikoki, and that's where we're going to relocate soon. We're not sure when, because we still have working on the paperwork and coordinating with the local government in West Papua. Already a month passed, but we still waiting. We gonna post it once it's gonna be happening.
Yes, definitely. Everybody can help our quest to save the parrots and their habitat check out our social media as well. We've got Instagram, we've got Facebook, and we've got our website, www.parrots.org, if I'm not mistaken. And there are many different ways there that you can donate to our different programs.
Since the relocation from Sulawesi to Maluku and North Maluku in June 2024, the team had gone back to North Maluku in July to help the Wildlife Authority in the area with the release of 21 of the relocated parrots. Within the same year, World Parrot Trust in Tasikoki undertook a larger relocation and release of 148 parrots from Sulawesi to another place in West Papua. Angela will be presenting about this second relocation at the upcoming AFA conference that is taking place in Taipei from August 25th to 29th, 2025. You can find out more about Tasikoki's rescued animals their volunteer programs and ways to directly support them at www.tasikoki.org. That's TASIKOKI.org. And the work of World Parrot Trust around the world at www.parrots.org. Thank you again to Billy and Angela for joining us on this podcast and their continued dedication to helping parrots in Indonesia and globally. And on a final note from Billy.
I will say last part, keep the wild wild.
Thanks for listening. You can find everything you need to know about our work and connect with us at asiaforanimals.com. Tune in for the next episode. Asia for Animals Coalition, a united voice for Asia's animals.